Welcome to the picturesque and mysterious sights of Volyn in northern Ukraine, described by the prominent poet Lesia Ukrayinka in the late 19th, early 20th century. This is a land of many lakes, which were formed by a glacier that moved here 150 to 200,000 years ago. Inhabitants of northern Ukraine, or the Polesia, still perform old rituals and sing ancient songs. They still produce starovizhiv ceramics and cook unique dishes using handmade utensils. Unexplored Ukraine is going to tell you about the starovizhiv district of the Volyn region in northern Ukraine. It is the old forest in Volyn, a weeping birch and an ancient oak tree that are growing on a meadow in the middle of the forest. A serene lake is covered with duckweed and water lilies. This is a wild and mysterious place. It isn't gloomy, but it is full of tender, thoughtful beauty of Polesia. These words were written by poet Lesia Ukrayinka in her drama The Forest Song. She was describing the place where her uncle's house was situated and where Lesya had spent her summer vacations. She told future poets lots of stories about Polesia mermaids, spirits of the forest, and other odd creatures. Her uncle is one of the dramatic heroes. The forest itself remains a mystery till now. The Forest Song is a fairy tale. It is a story of love and the birth of a new soul. It's a song of love and passion which moves the sun, stars, and all eternity. Nowadays, there is a park and a forest. The Forest Song Museum has been created in Lesia Ukrayinka's uncle's house. It displays photos, books, letters, and documents about the creative work and the life of the poet. The museum also shows what the homes of local residents looked like back then. Poetic festivals are often held near Uncle Lev's mythic oak tree. The oak tree, it seems, has a magic power protecting it. Fortunately, it has not been cut down. Perhaps a magic power is protecting it. The Volyn Oblast, or region of Ukraine, is often called the Blue-Eyed Land because it has 220 lakes. The most famous are the lakes of Shatsk. There are 130 river valleys, which have been inhabited by people since ancient times. Centuries ago, a Slavic tribe founded the city of Volyn, which later gave its name to the whole region. Starovizhiv district, located in the oblast's northern part, has a similar history. Hard-working people are said to have settled in these lands a long time ago. A legend states that locals suffered greatly from Tatarian raids. Locals had to hide in tree hollows. If they hid in time, they would say, "Ya vyzhiv," or "I survived." So the name Vyzhva comes from the old word vyzhiv, "I survived."
Першими словами їх були слова «вижив». Від того і походить назва «вижва», «вижив».
The settlement was first mentioned in 1508. Polish King Sigismund I presented the lands to the Sanguskos, nobles, and allowed them to build a town there. The village of Vyzhva was already there, so they called the newly founded town Nova Vyzhva, the new Vyzhva. Nowadays, there are 22 lakes in Starovizhiv district. Local residents even joke that each village has a lake or even two. The biggest is the Picturesque, or Sandy Lake. It was formed by the glacier 150 to 200,000 years ago. The water is so clear you can easily see underwater plants and fish swimming several meters below. Pine and birch forests around the lake create a picturesque landscape. A car is the best way to reach these lakes. Every lake differs by its water content. Some lakes' water contains silver or iodine. Karst lakes are notable for its calm water. There's a lot of fish in these lakes, and the water is warm and relaxing. It will give you strength and will make you return here next year.
І дасть можливість цілий рік згадувати про тепле літочко, щоб повернутися знову сюди для відпочинку.
The lake with a strange name, Krymny, is not far from another called Domoshny. According to legend, salt traders Chumaks, who went to Crimea to buy salt, lost their way and came to Volyn. They thought they had arrived in Crimea and shouted, Krymno, Crimea, come up. The village was named after the shout, Krymno. Scientists, however, tell their own version. Historians propose the name Krymny comes from the word Krymny, silicone, or stones on local fields. People are said to have settled here in the Middle Stone Age. In 1935, archaeologist Alexander Thinkinovsky found a settlement of primitive people on Domoshny lakeside. At different times, the village of Krymny was ruled by Lithuanian, Polish, and Russian monarchs. In 1793, a wooden church was built on a hill at the cost of Polish landlady Pottery, while a big temple was erected here in 1864. Ukrainians enjoy songs, poetry, and their poets. Famous writer Taras Shevchenko occupies a special place in the hearts of local residents. Almost all of them have some evidence the poet once visited their land. There is a church in the village of Sekun. Locals say Taras Shevchenko once visited it. Nevertheless, researchers still dispute whether Shevchenko really visited these lands. But villagers believe Shevchenko really saw their church and restored the Saint Virgin Mary statue. Locals say he finished the image of God's mother by drawing beads. Thus, he had given national flavor to the icon and made it closer to the people. Local residents believe the icon protects them.
Тобто по-нашому по-сільському їх називають пацьори, домалював до того образу. І від того він стає якийсь ще ближчий до людей, до нас, українців, і дійсно люди вірять про особливий захист Богородиці.
Even the smallest village in Starovizhiv district of northern Ukraine is unusual. For example, the unique geyser clay is only found in the village of Rokuta. For centuries, local potters have been using it to make ceramic ware. You could recognize this ware by a typical willow pattern, a symbol of life. Vasil Kurluk is the only one in the village who practices this ancient skill. When I was 27, I decided to try making ceramic ware. At that time, a pottery workshop was in our village. Two professionals who made pots since the 1950s worked at this shop. I asked one of them to teach me how to make pottery, and in a couple of months, I had made the first pots by myself.
І я пішов до майстра учні, і за 2 місяці вийшов в мене вже перший виріб. Такий, що він відповідав деяким критеріям, які повинні дотримуватися. Наша глина одна з унікальних.
Unlike most clay, our clay is more valuable, as it is mined from geysers. Geyser clay is very unique, as it is not lumpy and stiff. You can make face masks out of it. This clay peels from the skin perfectly. My grandfather and father showed me where the clay comes from. They told me how to store it and preserve it. It's a very difficult process. The clay is processed using hands. The clay possesses healing qualities. All the small wounds on my hand heal very quickly when I am working with this clay.
Просто пішов, попрацював, десь поранив руку, і на другий день вже все затягнулося.
The potter has several students, his daughter is among them. He likes knowing his craft will be carried on in the future. This is a guarantee that the art of pottery will be preserved in the Rokuta village. The only town in the district is Starovizhva. It is the district's administrative center. It is a small, cozy town with many green spaces. There is no traffic or crowded sidewalks. It isn't a rapid pace of life like in big cities. The nearest city, Kovel, is some 80 kilometers away from the village, but the trip is worth it. You can get to Kovel from Kiev by train or bus. The majority of villages in Starovizhiv district are tourist-friendly, with hotels and cafes. There are camping sites and leisure camps where hospitable owners will host guests. There are plenty of restaurants with dishes serving the local cuisine. Northern Ukraine cuisine is diverse and tasty. One of the meals is called omochka.
Зазвичай, знаєте, якщо приходять в гості, то маємо їх почастувати. Але поки можна зготовити або щось купити, у нас на столі повинні кожен раз.
We cook amochka when we want to entertain our guests. We cook other dishes, but our guests really enjoy amochka the most.
Беремо домашній сир, розминаємо його товкачиком.
This is our traditional dish. It is made of cottage cheese and sour cream. We pound cottage cheese in order to get rid of flakes. Then we add sour cream and pound it for another 10 minutes. We can add herbs, spices, and vegetables. Fennel, parsley, cucumbers, or tomato. Whatever you want.
І починаємо розтирати знову. Омочку можна їсти з будь-якими приправами.
When the dish is almost ready, we add some salt and pound it again. Bon appetit.
Хто любить, додає собі спеції. Хто до чого. Потім, коли вже воно трошки розтовклося, додаємо сіль. Так. І знову починаємо терти. Вже хто любить з петрушкою, ну але на даний час я маю під рукою окропець.
The recipe is 1 kilogram of cottage cheese, 500 grams of sour cream, 1 teaspoon of salt, and a bunch of fennel or parsley.
Ласкаво просимо до столу.
To cook dishes, Nadia uses water from the forest spring. The water is clean and clear. Locals have named the spring after Nadia's husband, Vasil. Here you see people dancing the krakowiak. Others are singing a sad folk song and are demonstrating how people wove fabric in ancient times.
Фольклористи тут можуть зібрати багатющу невичерпну криницю.
While visiting these lands, folklorists can study the peculiarities of life here. There are lots of different customs and traditions. People performing the folk songs have unique voices, which bring something special to our lives.
Ті, які додадуть чогось особливого до нашого життя.
На столі стоїть стакан, а в стакані лілія. Мене Олькою зовуть, Матвійка Хлопія.
Everywhere you can hear an applause. People are expressing their gratitude for the preserved traditions. The friendly atmosphere will allow everyone to enjoy the hospitality of the local people.
діти язям поплескати.
Запрошуємо вас у край Волинських озер.
We would like to invite you to the land of lakes and poets. It is a land inhabited by generous people. Here anyone can smell water lilies and camomiles, as well as see the bright sun and calm lakes.
Край, в якому пролилися тихі плеса озер.
Local residents will be glad to see you and will recommend what places are worth visiting. Come to Volyn and bask in the traditions and landscape.
Кажуть, куди можна поїхати, що можна побачити, що кого цікавить. Приїжджайте, шукайте, знаходьте і бережіть.
Ukraine is a picturesque and unexplored country. Come reveal the unseen beauty.